Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host, a member of the 1981 Indiana Hoosier National Championship team, and a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Mike. It's a weird day out in California. Half the damn place is on fire again. Watching everything burn all night long. But other than that, another typical sunny California day.
Is it really sunny if everything's burning? Can you tell?
Well, it's where I am. It is, but 20 miles away, the city of Malibu's already burned down. So it just jumped to 101. The fire did, and it took out Thousand Oaks, which had the shooting Wednesday night, and then Thursday they get brush fires, and now it's burnt down most of Thousand Oaks, and it's a mess. And it's just there's no free weather life anywhere. You guys getting some snow in Indiana? Getting cold up north.
It's cold, and the thing is this: I'm going to Atlanta, or just north of Atlanta, next Wednesday, and when I leave here Wednesday morning, it's supposed to be possibly snowing and like 40 degrees, or 35 degrees, and I'm like, well, that's great. I go into Atlanta, it'll be like 70, everything will be good. But then I look at Atlanta, I think on Wednesday it is supposed to be like 60, but on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday when we're there, it's supposed to be like 50 for a high, so it doesn't really
you know what the cold weather signals, don't you? It signals football, college and pro football playoff times beginning. So I think anytime the weather starts getting cold, we start closing up the dome stadiums. Those can open up and close, and bring out the coats and the flasks full of some hot toddy to put in your hot chocolate.
What are you? Geez.
Hot chocolate.
Now you're encouraging drinking.
And then you just kind of hunker down and sit next to as close as you can to the person next to you, and stay warm and cheer on your team. And here we go, huh?
All right.
Starting with last night.
And last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers ran the record to 6-2-1 with a dominating 52-21 win over the Carolina Panthers. Big Ben Roethlisberger, 22 for 25, 328 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, you're usually going to win when your quarterback throws more touchdowns than incompletions, Steve.
Yeah, I know being a Bengals fan, you're not big on the Steelers, but I've been harping all along. I've been following this team, and there's patterns that teams or franchises seem to do. And Pittsburgh lately, the pattern has been start slow, kind of get themselves organized, but they become one of those teams that just builds momentum as the season goes on. And here they are now starting to really get seriously a contender for a Super Bowl spot. Now, they got to get through New England, which is not going to be an easy task. And San Diego's looking strong. You still have Kansas City. But now you're shaping up as those 4 teams are probably self-emerging in the AFC now, is going to be the teams are going to make the run for the playoffs. Jacksonville's faded completely. Really, the Dolphins are not a threat in the AFC East or South, whatever division they're in. I don't even know.
Yeah, they're 5-4, but it would surprise me if they're 500 when the year's over.
And then you've got early contenders which start doing the same thing they do. And I hate to pick on them, but you look at the Bengals. They're doing their same thing. They start strong every year. They come out of the blocks good. They go, and then they just start fading. And I don't know if that's your coach or what, but they just start losing momentum. And Jacksonville tends to do the same thing. So, but back to the game last night. I mean, from what I could watch, we had most of the coverage out here was, sadly, fire coverage, and we got to see some of the game, but they were cutting in and out so much we didn't get to see a lot of it. But Pittsburgh looks strong. Roethlisberger is just coming true into form, and the thing about Cam Newton and the Panthers is exactly what we talk about all the time. Is he's so erratic in his play that when they're good, they're really good. But the problem is you just don't know what Panthers team is going to show up any given game. In my pool, I picked the Panthers to win this game. I thought, okay, they come off a couple of great games. Newton's looking good. He's under control. All the hype on him is like he's playing the best football he's played in a while, using his head, making decisions. And then here, he falls apart. The team falls apart.
I don't think he fell apart. He was 23 for 29, 2 touchdowns and interception. The thing that fell apart here is the thing that I think really made people believe in the Panthers, which is their defense. I mean, if you look at it, Christian McCaffrey, 14 carries for 77 yards. Newton throws for 200, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick. But in the end, the thing I think that has to be the most disappointing if you're a Panthers fan is the defense just fell apart.
Yeah. Well, did the defense fall apart, or did Roethlisberger just pick them apart? I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is an amazing guy. He's older in his age. He's has a snot beat out of him more times than we can count. Some self-inflicted on his motorcycles, and others by just
on his
bad offensive line.
You just said sickle.
Motorcycle, sickle. I don't know.
Yeah, motorcycle.
Sorry,
motorcycle. All right.
Motorcycles is plural for motorcycles. Whichever.
Motorcycles is plural. Where did you go to college again?
Where are we going off on this tangent for?
Because you just told me that motorcycles was the plural for motorcycles.
I got to tell you something. We did the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show Wednesday night with Colin Hartman and I, and you had other commitments and couldn't be there. We didn't miss you.
I know. Especially
we
the fact
didn't miss
that the show has like 2,000 less listens than it normally does. But you're right. You didn't miss me at all.
I think that Pittsburgh is playing themselves right into a showdown with New England. If depending on how the pairings go and the seedings go, it looks like right now they're going to win their division, so they're going to get a bye probably. How are they record-wise? They're what, 6-2-1?
Who, the Steelers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 6-2-1. I would think with their schedule, a bye is going to be hard to get because if you look at New England, they're playing in the AFC East. And if you look,
but they've got 2 losses. They've got 2 losses, right?
They have 2 losses, but I think there's less chance that you're going to get more losses from there. But in the end, I don't think it matters where New England plays in the playoffs. New England's a handful.
No, I don't either.
Where they go.
But then Kansas City would get the other bye, right? So they've only got 1 loss.
Right now, those would be the top 2 seeds. I think the 3rd seed would be Pittsburgh. Yeah. The 4th seed would be
Chargers.
Houston's
out of the Chargers?
Yeah.
How many games the Chargers lost?
It doesn't matter. Because Houston's winning their division, which makes them the 4th seed. Then you would have the Chargers at 5, and I think the Bengals are at 6. So right now, the Steelers to get to the Super Bowl, their problem would be if everything stayed the way it is now, they'd have to beat the Bengals. And the problem with beating the Bengals is this. They're probably going to beat the Bengals. It's a playoff game, and the Bengals will forget to show up.
Yeah.
But
do we need to go any farther than that?
When the Bengals play the Steelers, it is very brutal. And if you remember when the Steelers had the weird come-from-behind win against the Bengals a couple years ago, the next week they had to go to Denver and play without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, who were injured in the game against the Bengals. And, that makes it tough right there because, whether it's a close game or a blowout, it's going to be violent. People are going to get hurt and maimed because that's why the Bengals and Steelers are the only real rivalry left in the NFL because they still play like it's 1978. But then you'd have to go to New England. You'd have to go to Kansas City. So I think to make the Super Bowl, they're going to have to win a lot of games and maybe lose no more than 1 more if they want to have a legitimate chance so that instead of going that route, they're the 2 seed maybe, and they're playing Kansas City at home, and then they got to beat New England. It's still tough, but it's much more doable than the other way around.
All right, well, let's talk about the white elephant in the room. What have you heard about Le'Veon Bell? I think you've heard some news about that. You want to share with everybody real quick and kind of let's make that for a second because that could be the monkey wrench gets thrown in the works and screws everything up.
Okay. Yes. Art Rudy II said Thursday that the Pittsburgh Steelers expect running back Le'Veon Bell to report to the team next week. Bell has missed 10 weeks without signing his lowball $14.5 million franchise tag. Must report by Tuesday or he forfeits the 2018 season. Counting the weeks missed, he has officially lost out on $8.52 million worth of earnings. Rooney said, I don't know what his plans are, but I would say at this point we expect him to come back next week. Now, to me, that sounds like they don't know if he's coming back or not. They just assume he will because they assume he doesn't want to lose all that money.
Jeff, I don't know. Do the Steelers have an option not to take him back at this point? Just say, no, we're not doing anything?
I don't think so, because he's a franchise player, so they would have to bring him back. So they may not have a choice there, and they're going to have to pay him. So the question is Le'Veon Bell going to come back? Because you can sit there and say he's going to forfeit the whole year's salary, but he's already forfeited $8 of that $14 million. So I don't think it's too inconceivable that he's not going to come back at all anyways. And if he does, they're crazy if they play him. Because the guy, like I said before, I got no problem with somebody getting all they can make, because football players' career is really short.
Yeah,
but
especially running back.
In the end, this is just ridiculous. You know, he had the upside-down tweets. He's a me guy. There's a reason why, with Ben Roethlisberger, a Hall of Fame quarterback, a great offensive line, a suspect defense at times, but you've got Brown and Bell and Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger, I think, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in NFL history. But I think
I'm beginning to believe that.
I think Brown and Bell are two me guys. And I think in the end, they're not going to win because they got those two guys.
Yeah, I at this point, I don't know if I'd screw with the chemistry, but you know, there's smarter football people than me for sure. Now I know you're a pretty smart football person. You've coached at all levels of football, and you have a better sense for it than I do. But part of it is my just pissed offness at Le'Veon Bell and what he does, because I do think he's putting himself in front of the team. He has all season long, and I think now he wants to come back and put the team, claim he's going to put the team up, but he's not. He's going to be an unhappy, disgruntled player, but he's lost that much money. What do you do with Connor then? I mean, the kid's been running his brains out. He's been carrying the load for him. They've got a good mesh between him and the offensive line and Roethlisberger. You know, but Antonio Brown's been quiet. He hasn't been real noisy in the whole process. If Bell comes back in the locker room, does he team up with him? And I just see more negative happening to the Steelers right now after the strides they made since the Cleveland game, first game of the season, and tying them to where they've gotten to now, to where they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And I think throwing Le'Veon Bell back in the mix does more harm than good for this football team. I don't see him being such an add-on with Connor's way he's playing that you need to bring him in here and risk busting up that chemistry right now. That's my thoughts.
Well,
if you got to sign him, and you got to play him, sit him. Let him sit.
Okay. My question is this. I just looked up pissed offness, and it's not actually a real word, so.
Is this Fraggle Rock grammar show today, or are we going to talk football?
I would like for it to be.
It's colloquialism, my friend.
Fraggle Rock was on HBO, I think. I really like HBO shows. Sports is
chock full of colloquialisms.
Of what?
And metaphors.
What did you call it?
Colloquialisms and metaphors.
Oh. Now, did you see Eric Reed's hit on Big Ben?
You know, you ever heard of Yogi Berra? It ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Did you see the hit on Big Ben last night from Eric Reed?
No, I did not see the hit on Big Ben last night from Eric Reed.
Oh, because you were watching some fire is what your excuse is.
We didn't have much of a choice, Mike. I mean, you know, I don't control the TV content in the greater Los Angeles area. It's kind of what they put on.
Don't you have a computer?
Yeah. Well, at that point in time, when the score was like 45-16, the Fires were maybe a little more compelling than the damn football game. And damn is a word in the dictionary. You can look that one up.
Yeah. It's something that holds back floodwaters.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's
National Lampoon's Vacation. We're going to go take the damn tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the Hoover Dam.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at some of the games, the bigger games from this week. You know, we're not going to talk about
which one you want.
Jets.
Which one you going to start with? Give me. Which one you want to talk about first?
We'll start off with the Redskins and Buccaneers. Because
why is that a big game?
It's a big game because
both teams are for crap. Neither team is anything. The Redskins are overrated at 5-3. The Buccaneers suck. You know, they're 3-5. Where are they going? Redskins are winning a crap division, and they aren't even going to finish probably anywhere much above 500. Why is that an important game?
Well, because they're in first place right now in a bad division,
Okay, well,
which means they could possibly win that division.
Right,
So
and they get beat in the first
right.
wild card playoff game.
But they would be in the playoffs, so you have to talk about them because there's Cowboy fans that want to hear about it.
Okay, well, Cowboy fans need to be worried about Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett. They don't need to be worried about the Redskins. Jones and Garrett are a bigger enemy to the Cowboys than the Redskins are.
So are you picking the Buccaneers then?
I'm picking them if Fitzmagic plays.
Fitzmagic's playing, and the Buccaneers are going to
Okay, then I love that kid. I love that guy. You know, I call him a kid. He's younger than he's probably half my age.
You, I mean.
Exactly, right. Wow. I'm getting there, but what was the game at? The game's at Tampa Bay, right?
When he was born, you were like 50.
Okay. I doubt that he's 9 years old. The game's at Tampa Bay, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm going with the Bucks. Tampa Bay's favored by 3 points. Here you go. Matchup quality. 20% quality matchup out of 100. And we're talking about this game.
We're talking about this game because the Redskins have injuries.
Well,
and
you talk
if you
about
go
this
down the list of games, there's not a whole lot of big-time games here. I mean, next up, you would talk about the Cardinals-Chiefs, which the Chiefs are a 17.5-point favorite, and they're going to bludgeon the Cardinals. The Bills play the Jets, which is going to end up probably 9-6.
I'll be running through the whole schedule right now without taking each game by game.
I'm just reading through the schedule. We will stop at games that you want to talk about because what you want to talk about is the only thing that matters to me, Steve. So we've got the Bills and Jets, which if Michael Paulus is out there, you were really right about the Jets this year.
All right.
The Jaguars.
Yeah.
No, Michael Paulus. Do you remember the guy that thought they were going to win 13 games?
Yeah.
He's partially, mentally challenged.
It's like Forrest Gump's mom used to say, "Stupid is as stupid does."
Yeah, and he's stupid. And the thing is this: he unfriended me on Facebook, so I can't even send him a message to see if he wants to get on and talk about the season so far for the Jets. So he's a complete coward. So if anybody knows Michael Paulus or Paulus, whatever his name is, you tell him to really
let it go
to have him back on.
Pick your battles. Pick your battles.
I do. I pick my battles against guys that I know I'm smarter than, so I can win. So luckily, I pick my battles against everybody. The Jaguars at the Colts. I think this is a big game for the Colts.
I think it's a big game for both teams, really.
So you think? Wait a second. They're both 3-5 or something like that.
Yeah, but
and now wait a second. You are such a homer because we just talked about a team that was in first place that would lose in the first round, and that made them irrelevant. If the Colts make it to the playoffs, do you think they're going to win some playoff games?
I think they have a better chance than Washington does because they got Andrew Luck. And the Colts beat the Redskins.
Yeah.
One of the 3 losses the Redskins have are to the Colts at Washington.
You know what? The Jaguars beat the Patriots. What's that mean? It was just 1 week, 1 game.
Right.
Any given Sunday, anybody can beat
Here's why
anything.
I think it's a big game. I don't think it's a playoff implication game at all, no.
I think
the Jaguars better start saving.
It could be.
The Jaguars better start saving some face, or they're going to be going through some house cleaning. Bortles historically plays well against the Colts, sadly. He's probably going to come out and have a career game, throw 5 touchdown passes at Lucas Oil, and Colts are favored. Actually, the Colts for the first time this year, I think, are favored to win. Or maybe they were favored against the Raiders too, but who's not favored to play against the Raiders? Beat the Raiders. I think Jaguars got to save some face and get some redemption going. Bortles has got to have a good game, or I think even Jacksonville's going to entirely give up on him. Colts, it's really not an important game for the Colts in any way, shape, or form, other than you want to see the continued growth and development of Luck.
I think it is, Steve. I still think with their schedule, they could win 9 games and slip into the playoffs and get bludgeoned by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round.
Right. Yeah. So you're right. Maybe the implications of the importance of that game are more relative to me being a Colts fan.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. You were just being selfish. But
all right.
To me, if I had a choice of the 2 games to watch, I would probably I wouldn't watch either one of them. I'll just watch the red zone and watch the scores. I think the key to is this. The Jaguars struggle to overcome deficits. If the Colts
They've got to
score
run the ball
early
more.
and get the lead,
They've got to
the
get
Colts will win the game.
Fortinet running the ball more. They got to get Fortinet running the ball
they got
more.
to get him on the field. He hasn't played in
Right.
forever, which has been a killer for this team.
He's going to return, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Everybody keeps saying.
Oh, they're claiming he is. They're claiming he is. The Colts are riding a 2-game winning streak, and they're playing at home. And we'll see. I mean, let's move on. It's not a playoff relevant game, and I don't want to waste time on a non-playoff relevant game.
All right, next up we get Chicago Bears against the Detroit Lions. I think it's a relevant game because the Bears have a shot over the next 2 weeks with the game against the Lions and the game against the Vikings to actually take control of the NFC North. It looks like Khalil Mack will be back to play. The Lions sometimes this year look good. Most of the time they don't.
Lions are kind of like just a smaller, a little bit lesser version of the Panthers. I've seen the Lions play great football at times, and they've won a couple of good games, but then they come out and they look so. Last week they looked so inept. It's like, it's the old Detroit Lions, the ones we all know. Wonder why the hell they're on Thanksgiving Day every holiday. We have to watch them play.
Tradition.
Yeah, I know. Tradition. Tradition needs to change every once in a while. Let's get some good matchups on. You're going to sit there and fall asleep on your Barco lounger. Well, okay. Well, whatever.
All right. I'm getting tardigrade today.
Yeah, this is
an
important game for the Bears.
I think the Lions will win if they stop the run. The only problem is they rank near the bottom of the NFL in rush defense, giving up 143 yards a game. I think Jordan Howard has a huge game, and the Bears continue to march along in first place.
And you see, here's what I'm going to invoke the Goodpaster rule. The game's at Chicago. They're predicting snow up there all weekend. Detroit's one of these damn dome teams. And I think a lot of times those teams come in the first cold weather game that they play like this. They don't get quite acclimated as much as the Bears do. We're out there practicing it every day and playing in it all season long. I think weather edge, I'm going to give it a little bit. I mean, the Bears are favored by over 6 points to win the game. I think Bears roll in this game.
Yeah,
Trubisky's looking solid. He's looking solid. He's not looking Brady-ish,
solid.
No way. But he's not hurting that football team. And you get Khalil Mack back. Defense steps up its game just out of the spirit of him being back. First big hit he puts on somebody, that defense steps it up a couple notches. And I just think Stafford is just too erratic this year.
All right.
But maybe it's his offensive line. Most times I see Stafford, he's on his back with his linemen trying to all reach out a hand to help pick him up. So they haven't blocked anybody.
He's you see him on his back more than you see Kim Kardashian when you watch the Kardashians.
Or Stormy Daniels.
No, you don't see him on his back more than Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels lives on her back. She works on her back. Yeah, she gets paid on her back. Next up, we actually have a game that could be good. We've got two teams with winning records. How often does that happen? We get the New Orleans Saints at the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this is a tough turnaround for the Saints coming off the big home victory over the Rams.
Right.
Now they face a good Bengals team, not a great team. The Bengals are banged up with no A.J. Green, who's likely out, which will help the Saints secondary immensely. I think the Bengals can hang around in this game because this is one of those old trap games in the NFL. You're coming off a huge emotional win. And the thing that stands out to me is this. I think the Saints are a team built to go on the road, even play in cold weather. They've got a great running game. The defense is all right. But when I look at this, I think Joe Mixon's going to have a big game, and I think this is going to be a close game because I think it's just hard to come back from a game like they had and be able to bring it again. I mean, that's why they call it a trap game, Steve.
Yeah, you're back in that dome mentality again with the Saints playing a dome and they're going to Cincinnati, which, again, cold weather. And I don't think cold weather affects it that much, but when you got an air attack like New Orleans does, cold weather does affect your passing game to some degree. Balls get harder unless you're New England. You soften up the footballs.
Oh, here we go.
Hands get colder. Oh, it's too easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it matters.
Easy to do when you can't.
Not that it mattered in the 55-7 shellacking they gave the Colts in the Deflategate game. It wouldn't have mattered anyway if the balls had no air in them. They would have kicked the Colts' butt that night. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's again, you're probably reading the same information I am because ESPN's calling it a trap game. But I think Breeze is above
Actually,
that.
I don't read ESPN,
I think,
but
okay.
you're the one that follows
Well, then,
other sites. I just follow the Grueling Truth.
All right. But I think that Sean Payton and Breeze are above the trap game mentality. I think they'll have their team ready to play. Breeze is having an incredible year. Bengals are on their annual downward spiral about this time of year where they just start tanking to where they'll be
they won
scrapping to
game,
make the playoffs.
Right? You do know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who'd they play? Cleveland?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Oh, okay. Well, that's even worse. Cleveland may be one of the – well, no. Cleveland lost to Tampa Bay, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because they played – well, no, never mind.
You
Move
don't
on.
have any reason for that.
I think the Saints are on a juggernaut right now. I don't think they're going to.
What the hell is a juggernaut?
Juggernaut is an
You said
adventure
juggernaut.
travel.
I don't know what a juggernaut is. Your diction's killing me today.
Okay. Sorry.
I think it's a close game. I think the Bengals covered the spread. What the hell? I think the Bengals are going to win the game. Remember this. New Orleans a couple weeks ago went to Baltimore and only won the game because Justin Tucker missed the only extra point he's ever missed in his life, I think. So I'm going to go with the Bengals in an upset. And that's not a homer pick. Yes, it is. All right. Next
it's a homer
up.
pick.
No, it's not. The Bengals are going to win the game, and then you're going to have to change your profile picture to Andy Dalton for a week. Next up, the Falcons at the Browns. That's going to be an ass whipping. Then we've got the Dolphins at the Packers. That's a butt whipping. Lions, Bears, we talked about. Let's go Patriots at the Titans. Now, the Patriots are coming off a win over the Green Bay Packers. But the Titans are coming off a huge win. So maybe this is a trap game for the Titans, Steve. You like the Patriots?
Yeah, I don't see the Patriots losing again the rest of the year.
Well, see, I think Tennessee could cover the spread here. I still think they're a well-coached team. I think they looked really good on Monday night. You got a short turnaround, though. I'm still going to pick the Patriots, but I think the game may only be a 7 to 10-point game. I think the Titans do have a good defense. Next up, we could talk about the Chargers at the Raiders, but we're not going to. Seahawks at the Rams. I think this is actually a big game because the Rams suffered their first loss last week. Now they got to regroup against a divisional foe that's coming off a loss, that has a quarterback in Russell Wilson who can make plays. I think the Seahawks are going to try to pound the ball on the ground against the Rams defense that is vulnerable to the run. They're going to try to keep Jared Goff off the field that way. And I think it will work to keep the game closer than people think. I would actually take the Seahawks in 10 points here, but I think the Rams will win the game.
I think the Rams are honked off. Can I use the word honk? Because I didn't want to use the word pissed off because I didn't want to get yelled at for saying the word piss on the air.
Use the word PISS off.
Okay, I think they're honked off, and I think they cover the spread easily, and the Rams win big.
All right, you'll be wrong, but the Rams will win. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys.
Who cares? Who cares? I'm so
no,
over
I
the
do.
Cowboys.
I want to talk
care.
about the Cowboys.
All right,
How about those
Cowboys?
Cowboys? There's a 7-year-old
Cowboys?
boy in Fort Worth that wants to talk about them.
What are the chances that Jerry Jones could get? What's his name? Who's the coach? The Miami coach. I think of his name right now.
The Miami who coach? The Dolphins coach?
The guy, Jimmy Johnson. What's the chances he could lure
Jimmy
Jimmy
Johnson's
back
even
to the
older
Cowboys?
than you, so older than you.
Yeah, I know,
He's
but
probably
still.
an invalid somewhere.
No, he still does TV. He's on it. He looks pretty.
He does TV. He looks pretty, but his time has passed. He hadn't coached a football game in 20 years.
Neither is John Gruden. That didn't stop that mess.
He hadn't been 20 years. He was like 10 years or something. Yeah, I think the Eagles win this game. I think it buries the Cowboys even deeper. And then on Monday night, we've got a classic matchup as Phil Simms and the New York Giants will travel.
Well, wait a
to
minute
San
now.
Francisco.
See, I want the Cowboys to lose because I want more bad things to happen to the front office of the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, that
I
rip on
want
Anthony
this stuff
on
to get
Monday.
so messy that Jones finally has to deal with the ineptness of that management organization of that football team. Because the Cowboys are America's team.
No, they're
They're the
not.
most valued franchise
They're
in the
not
world.
America's
They
team.
were
They're
at one
not.
time.
I hate to tell you this. They were never America's team. America's team, if you want the truth, and you know I'm not a big fan of them, America's team's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you watch any game where the Pittsburgh Steelers go on the road, there's like 20, 30,000 fans there for them, no matter where they go. When they went to Dallas, it sounded like a Pittsburgh home game. So don't give me that America's team. America's team is something that the NFL made up to try to sell to Cowboys. They're not America's team. They're just a team that misses the playoffs almost every year, can't get out of their own way, and wishes they could have Jimmy Johnson or Tom Landry back. And Tom Landry today would do a better job than Jason Garrett does. And we all know where Tom Landry is.
Eagles are making a playoff run. They've got to save some face and get themselves back in the playoffs and try to position themselves for a home game.
They're going to win this division. They're going to get a home game as a 3 or a 4 seed, and then they're going to get knocked out. But they're going to make the playoffs. Next up, I'm going to just do a little, back in the day in the late 80s, early 90s, this was the greatest Monday night matchup you could have. You could have Phil Simms and LT, take the Giants to Candlestick Park to battle Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and the 49ers. It's not so much like that anymore. And since it's Monday night, and Matt Andrews-Scavage, who's been on the show before, is a big Niners fan, I would like to say this. I think the Giants are going to beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football.
I don't.
Well, you're wrong.
Game's in San Francisco.
Okay. Well, I know, and they'll have a huge home field advantage there with 50,000 empty seats, 15,000 New Yorkers, and 10,000 Niner fans.
I don't think that Eli Manning's capable of having a great game anymore. Not enough in this franchise.
Whatever.
No, I told you I'm a Manning fan. I grew up a Manning fan. And despite you, I like Peyton. I mean, what he did for the Colts in the bulk of his career was great. I've always been an Eli fan. But I just think he's toast in New York, and I think this is his last stop. He's done. He's not going to be on that team next year. They're going to shave him out one way or another. Either retires or he gets traded hopefully to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville would be a perfect home for Eli Manning. Go down there and bring him in, give that team some hope. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars, aside from Blake Bortles, are a decent football team. And you put somebody like Manning, who maybe has a couple good years left in him in the right environment. But I think that he's so shell-shocked, and that offense is so inept, he can't do anything. That, San Francisco seems to be this hotbed now. Whatever quarterback they throw back there seems to have a career first game or second game. So I think San Francisco wins this game. The spread's, 3 points? I think they'll cover.
I don't even know. I don't care what the spread is because the New York Football Giants are going to win this game.
All right. No, I disagree with you entirely.
Well, usually when you do that, you're wrong.
I bet against the 49ers too many times this year.
How can you bet against them too many times? They've won 2 freaking games, Steve.
I know, but they didn't cover. I bet on them to win, and they didn't do it.
Are you betting point spreads in Vegas now?
No, we have a little pool, but you have to call the point spread to get the 2 points in your pool. We don't bet for any money. We just accumulate points for the season. And I tend to pick just games and not look at the point spreads. Well, the spread is just, 49ers win this game. I don't even know that it's close.
Okay.
The Giants are just doing that. The Giants are,
I know, the 49ers aren't.
They're not as inept as the
Giants. They're not? Okay, you know what? Name 5 players on the San Francisco 49ers without looking it up.
I can't name anybody.
Exactly. Can you name New York Giants?
Odell Beckham and Eli Manning.
Saquon Barkley? Sterling Shepard.
So what does that matter? Because
you just said
we both have an opinion.
You said they were better. You're just wrong. They're not better. But let's move on. Let's move on.
Move on.
Okay.
Giants win the game.
Wrong. We'll see.
Giants lose the game.
We will go back to this later on.
All right,
Tuesday,
go ahead. What?
When I'm right, Monday we'll get Anthony's take on it too, and see if he's crazy also.
No, we're too busy ripping into Anthony about those Cowboys.
All right,
he better not show up Monday.
We're going to talk a little football, Friday football frenzy with college football, And that
Are we done with the pros?
yesterday.
We're not going to talk about Arizona, Kansas City?
No.
That's a huge matchup.
Be quiet. Next up, we're going to talk about college football because nobody cares about Arizona playing anybody in any sport, unless it's college basketball because they have a higher payroll than the Cardinals. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons last night upset the North Carolina State Wolfpack 27-23. You like how I said Wolfpack?
Wolfpack.
When you look at this, NC State's ranked 14th. This is a loss for Clemson. Because the ACC...
It hurts their ranking, yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily hurt their ranking, but at the end of the year, when you look at Clemson's schedule, you have an issue finding some really good teams they beat. They did beat 13th-ranked Syracuse. They're going to play Boston College this week. But in the end, the lack of the ACC being as good as what it was last year, where I think the last 2 years the ACC was just as good, if not better, than the SEC. But this year, there's no way they are. And it makes it almost impossible if Alabama keeps winning. It makes it impossible for them to jump to number one unless Bama does lose. Really, there's no difference between 1 and 2.
Well, does that matter, Mike? As long as they stay number 2,
no, it
matter.
Doesn't matter. But I want to be number 1 because it
doesn't matter because there's no way that Notre Dame is going to get moved, even if they stay undefeated. Both teams stay undefeated. Notre Dame is not going to pass. Not going to pass Clemson in the rankings. But both teams stay undefeated. The things are the top 3 are going to stay where they are.
Yeah, but what if Notre Dame
Michigan
comes
has 2
out?
losses.
I don't think this will happen. But what if Notre Dame comes out and beats Syracuse 35-0? Because Syracuse is a team that lost by 3 points to Clemson, and then maybe they go out to USC and beat USC 42-12 or something. I think it is possible Notre Dame could jump them then, because you throw in the win against Stanford, which was a blowout win. I think you could make a case for them. I don't think they should ever be ranked ahead of Clemson, even if Clemson loses a game. But when you look at it, I think there is a way for them to get jumped and end up
there's
being
a way.
number 3.
I
mean,
agree.
really, let's face it, you just don't want to be number 4. You don't want to have to play the national semifinal against Alabama.
Alabama, right, because you're done.
But another game to me that I think is interesting when it comes to college football playoff pair rankings is Central Florida plays Navy. Now last year, Central Florida played Navy, and it was a big win. Navy was ranked in the top 20. This Navy team's not very good. They just lost last weekend to the University of Cincinnati, who is a good team, but they lost to Cincinnati 31-0. I think we're at a point now where UCF needs to try to score 100 points on everybody to get somebody's attention. And the other thing is
it's not going to work either.
If Cincinnati shut out Navy last week, I think the thing that's killed UCF on the rankings is their defense. The defense is not nearly as good as it was last year. And defensively, I think people see the defense and they think, well, their offense is good enough to rank them this high because they can outscore people. But their defense is so bad, they're never going to touch an Alabama or, Clemson.
No, there's no argument for there's no legitimate argument for a 4-team playoff that UCF should be in a 4-team playoff. I don't care if they're 22-0, 24-0 or not. They're not of the quality.
There's not an argument right now, but there will be because some of those teams above them are going to lose.
But not get in the top 4, not to crack the top 4.
You never know what could happen.
Nobody's going to touch Alabama. I doubt that Alabama's going to lose. I don't think Clemson's going to lose because I don't think their schedule's strong enough for them to lose.
But I can see Notre Dame losing.
Notre Dame's the big if, and Michigan's got to go through Ohio State
and the Big West.
And then either Purdue or Northwestern or whoever's going to win that. Purdue's in the hunt on that other division now, too. They're only a game out.
Yeah.
So Purdue all of a sudden has gotten in the hunt. Purdue's playing good football right now. I mean, they drilled Ohio State. Not that I think Purdue is a national champion contender either, but they're going to make some noise over there. So Michigan probably has more tough games to play. Notre Dame is just so unpredictable in terms of what they do at the end of the season every year. They usually screw things up and lose one of these games right when they're cruising. You think, okay, they're going to play for the national championship, and then bingo, they're going to lose to Syracuse. You predicted all along you think Syracuse is going to get them.
I think Syracuse is a better team than Notre Dame, and I think this. I think Notre Dame has a tougher road because I would rather play Ohio State than Syracuse. Ohio State's defense is not very good. There's issues on that team. So when I look
for where?
at it,
for who?
for Ohio State. I think they've got major issues
Oh yeah,
defensively.
Ohio State's out of the mix entirely.
I'll tell you this: everybody would say I was nuts, but I don't even think Ohio State's got the right quarterback yet. I think Tate Martell should be the quarterback.
Yeah, Ohio State's done. They're done. Did I read this wrong, or did I see that there's a chance that Ian, what's Ian's last name from Notre Dame, is the
Ian
quarterback
Book is
there?
not going to play, or probably not going to play.
Hurt, injured, or just not?
Yeah, he's injured. And
okay.
They play Florida State. Florida State's not very good, though. It should not matter.
Yeah, I was right in what I read.
Yeah.
The quarterback they're putting in, what's his name? What's the quarterback they're going to play?
Well, you've got Brandon Wimbush, and then
Wimbush is who they're talking about. Wimbush is already making innuendos publicly that I'm going back to play and I'm going to earn and keep this job. And that's the kind of crap that starts dissension on a team like Notre Dame. And then idiot Brian
Kelly,
whatever his last name is, Kelly, sits there and decides, we got a quarterback controversy now because Wimbush played a good game against a crap team like Florida State.
I don't think he will.
And I hope he doesn't, because if he does, you see sealed the fate of Notre Dame. This is the worst scenario that could happen for Notre Dame, is to change quarterbacks right now, and the backup quarterback coming out and going, instead of saying, hey, we're running for another championship, I'm filling in while Ian gets healthy. He's like, I'm coming in here to play and win this job back. I plan on staying the quarterback for the rest of the season. That's the comment I thought I read. And I'm like, well, did I miss something here? I guess I missed that he was hurt.
The thing that gets me here is this. Florida State's not very good. Their defense is very bad against the pass. But if Brandon Wimbush is playing, he's very bad throwing the ball. And when you look deeper into Florida State is actually number 17 against the running game. And if you play Wimbush, I think this game becomes low scoring, and I think it becomes a dangerous game for Notre Dame.
It's a very dangerous game now. It's a very dangerous game, yeah. It's dangerous on a lot of fronts. I'm nervous about this game big time all of a sudden.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
No, it's not. No, I mean, I don't care. I really, Alabama's going to run away with this thing this year anyway. It doesn't matter. You could put the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns in there.
No, you couldn't.
And probably the Jets in there, and Alabama would probably still win.
Teams would crush Alabama.
Yeah, well, they say that.
Crush them. No, but I say that because of this. There's 53 NFL players on each one of those teams. Even Alabama at their best, you get maybe 15 or 20 tops. So there's going to be holes.
I know. I'm
22. I hate when people say that. It just shows a sign of stupidity that just drives me nuts.
Okay, so now you're saying I'm stupid.
No, I just said people that believe that.
Oh, I don't believe it. I was just making it up to get under your skin for a second so you can say people are stupid. I was giving you a vehicle to wreck. And there is nothing like watching a house.
I think the upset of this week. I think the upset of this week is I think Tennessee will beat Kentucky.
I don't even think that's an upset.
Well, what's the point spread?
I don't know. Odds. Here, let me check. Let me click on odds. Odds of the game. Kentucky Wildcats. Money line. I don't know how to read this stuff. Spread. Looks like minus 5.5.
Yeah, at Tennessee. So that's a pretty good under.
At Tennessee. So Kentucky's giving up 5 points.
All right. So next up, we've got Ohio State ranked number 10, which they shouldn't be that high.
Michigan State.
Against number 18, Michigan State. And I think this is pretty much where it all falls apart for Ohio State. Maybe. I don't know. But
I agree.
Sure it will.
Yeah,
I think Michigan State wins this game.
I do too. I think Ohio State's done. I think that the Purdue loss just rattled the crap out of them, and I think that they're out of sorts now. They aren't. Urban's not going to be able to get them back in any kind of. They know they've lost the chance to play for the national championship, and I think this team deflated hugely when that happened.
All right.
I mean, their only saving grace is to go beat Michigan and take Michigan out of it too, if they can possibly do it.
Man, I don't think they're going to touch Michigan.
I don't either right now.
But then again, maybe it's in their brain that they can't beat Michigan.
So, okay, so does Wisconsin, Penn State's it's going to be a fun game to watch.
It is? Only if it snows. I mean, Penn State's lost, 3 games now? Wisconsin, the great thing about Wisconsin is they're unranked, and all their fans, I'm not a big fan of Wisconsin fans in any sport, but especially football. You know, the last 3 years, we'd have these morons on our college football weekly show I used to do with Bill Searcy, and they would, oh, man, we should be ranked in the top 4 before they ever played the Big Ten. But they never play anybody. This year, BYU cracked them. They've been cracked 3 or 4 times. I just think it's funny. You don't hear any Wisconsin fans anymore. Next up, number 8, Washington State goes to Colorado. The Buffaloes are a good team. I think they started off 4-0, but they sustained a ton of injuries, which have hurt their chances. If Washington State wants to get into conversation, they've got to go to Colorado and blow Colorado out.
Win big. Yeah, they got to win big.
I don't think they're going to blow them out, but I think they will get the win in the end to stay in the conversation. So, you got any take on this game?
No, I agree with you entirely on that one. They've got to win big to even stay in the conversation because we're running out of games for them to make a dent in anything. And there's just too many teams that they have to pass. But I don't think they. I agree with you. I just agree with you on this one. I can't even cipher anything that's any different than what you're saying.
All right, cipher. All right, next up.
Yeah, I knew you. I said that initially.
Sure you did.
So does Mississippi State have anything for Alabama?
That's where I was going, and I'm supposed to be the host of the show.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we're co-hosts. I forgot. Mississippi State, I mean, they've got a quarterback in Nick Fitzgerald who's looked like a different player over the last few weeks. He's tossed 6 touchdowns, 0 picks, topped the 240-yard mark in wins over Texas A&M and Louisiana Tech. That balance has helped the offense to play much better. The Bulldogs are one of the best teams in the SEC defensively, but I don't know here. I mean, Alabama's like a 25-point favorite. And
I think Alabama's.
I think the biggest question for all Alabama games from now on is not whether they win or lose; it's will they cover. I think they'll cover. I think they're going to beat Bama. They're going to beat the brakes off Bama or off Mississippi State. This is one of the best Alabama teams of all time that I think I've seen talent-wise, which makes them probably one of the best teams of all time.
Yeah. No, I don't think anybody touches them the rest of the year.
All right. I think Clemson could touch them maybe. You got West Virginia hosting TCU. They're kind of in the same boat as Washington State, where TCU is a solid opponent. If you blow them out, you got a chance still if we get a few upsets down the road. And I think they will blow them out. I think West Virginia is a good football team. I don't think they have the defense to be a threat to an Alabama, though.
See, I think you got 6 teams left really in the conversation for playing for the national championship right now. You got the 4 that are in. Then I think you've got Georgia, and I think you've got Oklahoma. Other than that, I think anybody else, for them to get in would be disaster would have to happen. Alabama would have to almost lose twice.
Well,
Notre Dame would have to lose. They could. Sure,
this is the thing, though. Yeah. I think Notre Dame will lose. I think Michigan will win out.
Do too. Sadly, I do think Notre Dame's going to lose a game. Sadly, I do.
I think
I just don't have any faith in Brian Kelly at all.
I think you got this. I think number 1 going into the playoffs is going to be Alabama. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Michigan. And number 4, I don't know.
Georgia.
If Georgia wins out and they give Alabama a game in the national championship game, I think they can get in. But I think what's going to happen is Alabama's going to crush them. And when they crush them, that's going to eliminate
Washington State.
Yeah, so
then that brings Oklahoma and Washington State into the fold then.
And I think Oklahoma is going to have their hands full with West Virginia, and there's a Big 12 championship game now. They get into. I mean, I think that gives them problems. Washington State has the clearest route because the Pac-12's not that good. But West Virginia, if all of a sudden they've beat Oklahoma and they've won the Big 12. I mean, then they become relevant. So I think there's 9 teams in the conversation here. I think there's 10 if you count UCF. But to count UCF, then you got to have West Virginia beat Oklahoma but lose to somebody else if you know what I'm saying. You have to have Washington
Mm-hmm.
State lose to somebody else. Georgia's
Right.
got to lose to Bama, which will probably happen, but you don't know. You got to have Notre Dame lose. You've got to have a multitude of things happen for UCF to even sniff this. So I think they're pretty much dead in the water.
And I think the most sure thing happening is Notre Dame loses, sadly.
Well,
I just don't
I'll
think
tell
they
you,
can
this is
control their
like
own destiny.
this is like if your Colts are 8-7, they're still mathematically in the playoff hunt. But you need these 5 teams to lose. You need these 2 teams to win, and then you have to tie.
Exactly.
That is UCF's chances to make the playoffs. Next up,
this
a game
important wait a minute. It's an important question. Who beat Washington State?
USC.
USC?
39-36 at the
Notre Dame's got to go play USC. So
yeah, so there's a
no
comparison.
Chance.
All right, next
there's
up.
a comparison right there. Yeah.
You've got Auburn and Georgia. I think Georgia's going to manhandle them. I don't know why Auburn's still ranked 24th. LSU's going to crush Arkansas. They're going to take out a lot of pent-up anger on them. Michigan's going to crush Rutgers because, let's face it, Indiana beat Rutgers. Indiana, Maryland. We're going to talk about it just because we're both Hoosiers. But they're 4-5. They're playing 5-4 Maryland. If the Hoosiers want a chance to make a bowl game, they got to win this game, Steve. And they're not going
Hoosiers have no chance to go to a bowl game. They can't win this game.
Well, they could beat Maryland. They beat Maryland. They beat Purdue, and they're there.
So they're not going to beat Purdue right now. Where's the Purdue game at this year?
Doesn't matter. It's in Indiana.
It doesn't matter.
Because Purdue and Indiana are both in Indiana. I didn't say at Indiana. I said it's in Indiana.
Mike, don't do this show any disservice by talking about Indiana football.
All right, next up, we've got
move on.
We've got Clemson at Boston College. This, I think, is the biggest chance for a slip-up by Clemson. But I don't think
they do it.
But the other thing is this. I think also Clemson has played their best football the last few weeks. I think this is the best time for them to play against their best team. But BC's a good football team.
They're dangerous. They're always dangerous.
And it's at BC. And you know that they're going to be jacked up. It's their biggest game of the year. I think they can stay in it for a little while. But I just think Clemson's too good. I think Trevor Lawrence is getting more comfortable as the quarterback. I think this team gets better and better. I think they're going to win the league. They're going to the playoffs. And they're going to play Bama in a national championship game.
Yeah, I think the only team in the country that can give Alabama an even run is Clemson. I don't think any other team can even give Alabama a run for their money in the championship game, except for Clemson. And Clemson would have to play its A game, and Alabama would have to show up and give you a B- game.
Well, and this is the thing. This is a must-win for Clemson because as bad as the ACC is, if Clemson was to sustain a loss here, they could be out. I mean, I don't think you can look at it any other way because there's no Louisville with Lamar Jackson to beat that's ranked in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
There's none of these teams that can really give them a kick. The Miami Hurricanes have been a complete disappointment this year. So when you look at that, if Clemson loses a game, they're probably done.
It jeopardizes them.
Which will makes you look at it this one of two ways. I mean, this puts an inordinate amount of pressure on a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence that's never been in that situation. You don't know how he's going to respond to that. But you also know that you're not going to have a letdown coming into this game, I wouldn't think.
No, I tell you what, if I was Kelly, I would do everything I could to make sure Ian Book plays in this game. I think even an injured Ian Book is going to be better than another quarterback.
What if he had a broken right arm, Steve?
He doesn't have a broken right arm. If he's listed as probable, it would be most likely.
Yeah, I think Ian Book's going to play. If he doesn't,
I think it's a mistake if Notre Dame doesn't play him.
Well, the other thing is this, though. You've got a huge game against Syracuse on the horizon. You've got to have a healthy
You have him healthy for that game, right?
You may not have to have a healthy. Let's face it. If you're a national championship caliber team, you should be able to play a bad Florida State team and beat them with your backup quarterback. Do we have any doubt that if Alabama and Clemson If Alabama and Clemson were missing their starting quarterback, they would still beat Florida State by 70 points.
Exactly.
But
they're not. Notre Dame's not Alabama or Clemson.
No, they're not. All right. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, you don't want to talk about NASCAR, so no sense. Nothing else really happened in the world.
I keep telling you, have a NASCAR show.
What's going on in the NBA? Anything in the NBA? Any
No.
big news in the NBA? Derrick Rose is playing like on fire.
Until he gets hurt.
He's playing well. Yeah. Lakers are starting to win a little bit.
Good for them. We'll talk about the NBA when important sports end.
All right. No, I don't have anything else. Let's just wrap it up and get out of here.
It's kind of like baseball, Steve. The season's so damn long. It's hard to get too jacked up
about
anything.
It's hard to get jacked up about NBA right now. Because
Yeah.
It is. I mean, Cleveland's got new uniforms. You see Cleveland's new uniforms?
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a throwback to the Houston Astros uniforms. All that orange and rainbow striping crap that they used to have.
Oh, really? I used to love the Houston Astro uniforms. Now I'm going to Google the Cleveland Cavaliers' new uniforms. Do they have the uniform? Exactly. Are you sure they didn't wear their throwbacks? Because they used to have the things. You remember? Let's see.
Well, that's that city edition thing where they do certain games where they wear their throwbacks.
So they don't.
It's like the dumbass Pacers wearing the Hickory uniforms every once in a while.
I love
Give me
the
a
Hickory
break.
uniforms.
I hate the Hickory uniforms.
Are you a communist?
No, I'm not a communist. I just don't think the Pacers should wear Hickory uniforms.
Why not? It's part of Indiana. The Hickory Huskers in 1952 won the championship. And no, this is a city edition. This is not the old uniforms. Those look stupid.
Yeah, they do.
I like the old Cavaliers with the blocks down the side.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Actually, the blocks down the side were the same uniforms that when the Aurora Red Devils in the 70s wore red. They had the blue blocks down the side. I don't know if they.
Is that when they beat up?
I don't know if they wore the red or the white. Do you remember? Did you wear dark color?
For some reason, I think we were in maroon. I think we were dark, so they must have worn white.
Oh, they just wore their white uniforms. They weren't as cool, but what the hell?
I don't remember that. There was this good trivia question that came out because when Indiana played Chicago State's red home away uniforms had not been delivered yet. So they requested Indiana wear red. And it's the first time, they claimed it was the first time in the history of Assembly Hall that Indiana had worn red in Assembly Hall. So I couldn't remember. My question was, well, I don't know. In 81, we played the Mideast Regionals in Assembly Hall.
Now, you were the higher seed in both games, though, so you wore white.
So we were the home team. So we wore white. But yeah, we did. It turned out we wore both games, white in both games. But I didn't remember if we did or not. But I thought that was the only chance where another time Indiana would have worn a red uniform in Assembly Hall would be if it was mandated because the playoffs, but you're right, we were the higher seeds. We were listed as the home team.
Yeah, because St. Joe's was like an 8 seed, and I think the UAB team you beat was like 6 or 7, but I'm not sure. And you guys, I think, were a 3, weren't you?
Yeah, we were a 3 seed. Yeah, behind
DePaul
and Kentucky. Was it Kentucky? I think it was Kentucky.
I don't think it was Kentucky. Was it Kentucky?
I know Kentucky got upset. Was it Wake Forest?
No, it wasn't Wake Forest. Was it Boston? Was it Boston College? I think Boston College got upset that year because I remember they almost.
Everybody got upset. That's how we won. That's how we got to the Final Four.
Not everybody, because Virginia, North Carolina.
Well,
LSU
I said how we
there.
got to the Final Four.
Oh, yeah.
How we got to the Final Four. Look up Google seeding teams in '81.
Well, I remember the seedings for the teams in '81. I think.
And who was number 2? Who was number 2 seed?
I thought it was BC. Hold on, I'll look it up. Because I know that year was 82. All right, that's the men's basketball rankings. That won't do it. Because I think UCLA got upset that year too early, didn't they? In '81. 81 men's basketball tournament. I thought it was Boston College that got upset, but they may not have been in your region. Here we go. Steve Risley, championship game, played 13 minutes. You made every shot you took from the field. You were 1 for 1 and 3 for 4 from the free throws. You had 4 rebounds and 1 personal foul. I just figured I'd bring that up.
Smacked the crap out of Sam Perkins is what I did. Regional seed Mid-East. Kentucky was number 2. I was right. We were number 3.
Kentucky was too. Is that the year they lost to Middle Tennessee State in the second round?
Yeah. Yeah. They got upset big time. No, they lost to UAB.
UAB? Okay.
UAB beat them, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Boston College. Yeah. Let's see.
They got beat by Wake Forest. Wake Forest was the 4th seed, and they lost to Wake Forest, Boston College.
Boston College.
They beat Boston
5
College.
Seed, right? No, Boston College beat Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
Because Boston College lost to St. Joe's in like one of the most boring games in history. It was like 40-39 or something, if I remember right.
42-41.
Okay. And I remember you guys
I pulled it up. I've got it right here. I pulled it all up. Yeah, I can tell you every game now.
I can, too. I only missed by
Ball State. Ball State was
Ball State almost beat Boston College. That was the team that had, I think it was
Michigan 93-90. They lost.
Yeah, Michigan City Rogers, Dan Palambizio. You remember Dan Palambizio?
I remember that day. Yeah, I know Dan Palambizio. But yeah, I don't know him well.
Wasn't he Mr. Basketball?
Yes, he was.
Okay. But yeah, that was one of my favorite tournaments since Indiana won it all. And I think that was the year where there was upsets all over the place.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, matter of fact, I just Googled. It said the March 14th upset. It all happened on March 14th. That's when everybody got beat.
Wasn't that when U.S. Reed hit like the half-court shot against Louisville, too, down in Texas?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because that was a wild one. And then they got crapped out by LSU. LSU was really good. LSU, actually, I think in that tournament, beat everybody but double digits until they played you guys.
Yeah, they may have. Looking at it here, yeah.
Yeah, because I think they beat Lamar.
72-56. They won 72-56. They won 96-85.
They won
178.
The Wichita State game was closer than the score, though. That was a good game. I think, who was it? I think Wichita State had Antoine Carr, who played in the NBA.
Yeah, that game, that was a 4-point game. That was just a 4-point. Well, no, that was Iowa.
It was 90. It was a double digit. They beat them.
Yeah.
They scored almost 100 points.
We're off on a tangent.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's good that you played it and you have to look it up, and I can remember.
You know, at some point in time, we should actually just do a show on the 81 season, on the 81 tournament. It was an interesting tournament because nobody predicted us to win that thing.
Well,
we were not even in the mix.
That could be one of our extra shows that we put out for people next week.
Yeah, it could be. Just relive the 81 championship
the
year.
1981 NCAA basketball tournament, the year of the upset.
It was. Big year, big upsets. Yeah, everybody got beat. Yeah, we waltzed into it. We thought we were going to have us, DePaul, Kentucky, Wake Forest were the top 4 seeds, and we're the only ones that showed. Everybody else got beat on that Saturday.
Yeah, and the thing that would have been really funny is the fact that Indiana would have played Kentucky, and Indiana would have been the lower seed, but they'd have played at Assembly Hall. Then you would have wore red.
Yep. We wore red, yep.
And Kentucky fans to this day would still be bitching about it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up for today. We will be back on Monday with Anthony Servino and Manic Monday in the NFL, or Panic Monday in the NFL. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. Find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter at Survive the Magic, which is the Survive in Advance page. You can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.